And I will say, folks, if I do forget and you notice, please don't hesitate to flag that for me. There's a few other things happening on my end, so I am bound to overlook a few of these components, but want to make sure that I record all of these sessions for posterity and for those who are unable to join. So I recognize that I have had new to this semester one-on-one meetings with each of you ahead of the term to give a bit more information around what the expectations are for the semester, as well as get to know y'all a little bit better. And I thought they were quite valuable and allowed me more of a chance to get in depth around the research asks, seeing as we've pivoted slightly from how the consortium has approached this previously. But having done that individually, I also wanted to support that conversation by a shared dialogue with the group to give a little bit more detail around the expectations around the research and how we have identified the organizations that we are partnering with this semester. So I have a bit of a spiel that I wanted to walk y'all through, which goes into, again, a little bit more detail around how you might decide what your research project could be. So I've created a bit of a choose your own adventure mind map, which is how my mind typically operates when I'm gifted with a research ask with a lot of flexibility, which is how I see the consortium fellowship program. So initially, it's key that you identify what your individual interest areas are. I've started highlighting a few of those in our Discord channel. So as it relates to policing and public safety, a few that spring to my mind include traffic stops and road safety, the role of technology, so body-worn cameras, perhaps AI or drones, mental and behavioral health, that can include the new 988 number, that can include identifying alternative responses to individuals experiencing a mental or behavioral health crises rather than law enforcement, use of force continuums or use of force policies, data collection, etc. It could be, or community review boards, something that has a bit of relevance to you as an individual or you as a community member. And I define community quite loosely. So that can be your law school community, that can be the community in which your law school sits. You have a bit of flexibility in how you define that. So to first, yeah, let's figure out what it is that you as an individual researcher are interested in. Then it's also key that you identify how much time you can commit to the fellowship. Will it be one semester? I know we have some folks who are graduating in the spring. Will it be an entire academic year? Will it go beyond that? I have no preference. I am happy to provide guidance on how things might change as the fellowship evolves, but that is at your discretion to commit to as much as you are able and interested in. Related to that, though, it's also important that you acknowledge how much oversight or direction will you need and will you want? And is your faculty advisor or am I aware and on board with that? So if your faculty advisor has limited capacity to provide direct ongoing meetings or direction with you in your research, you may want to ensure that you're undertaking more of a desk review or something that you can do independently. I think a lot of the successful initiatives from past fellows where there has been collaboration or partnership with local policing departments has been in schools where a faculty advisor has been actively interested and spearheading this work. If that is not going to be the case, that is wholly understood, and I recognize our faculty advisors are being pulled in a lot of different directions, but let's take that into account before identifying what your research ask might be. Recognizing the limited role that some of our faculty can play in this is also another reason why I've drawn in some research asks from external agencies. As well, does your faculty advisor or larger law school have strategic priorities that you want to align your research with? Is there a focus area that you have a new class around or a new publication from an expert faculty member that is coming out this year? If so, aligning your research with their needs and that agenda could serve in ensuring that additional awareness or attention is paid to your work, which can be beneficial both to advancing your profile as well as the profile of the consortium. So let's try to be mindful of what the larger strategic priorities are within your campus. And then doing a baseline review of where your interest area is. What is currently available? What is known? What is not? Can be helpful in determining if and how you might be a value added in this conversation. And then I often like to start by thinking of what I want my final output to be. So, what do you want to come out of your research and your time with the fellowship? Is it a white paper that you might publish in coordination with your faculty advisor or potentially another fellow? Perhaps a law journal article? Are you hoping to support the work of the Center for Policing Equity, which we'll hear more about shortly? Are you interested more in supporting the work of the Excellence in Policing project? There is a bit of overlap in some of the interest areas with these two organizations. However, by identifying one, you will be working more in support of their individual mission and goals. So you want to be clear about how you are identifying what your research ask will be. The consortium does not advocate on behalf of one viewpoint, but instead provides a stage for all ideas to be presented and considered, which is why I have brought in these additional asks for the semester. And I know I've talked or shared the research asks from both of these organizations with everyone individually, and they are also included in the shared drive. But in the hopes of providing more context and to allow you an opportunity to ask questions about how your research or work might be used, I thought it would be beneficial to bring in Scarlett Neath from the Center for Policing Equity today to give a bit more background that she's very graciously already provided to me, but that she could also share with you about how this work could be used, perhaps some ideas on where this research or the work might be found, and more general guidance for your consideration in whether or not you want to proceed with the asks that they have shared. So Scarlett, I'm going to hand the floor to you. And while you're talking, I'll redrop in the chat the link of the research asks that you've already provided.
Thanks so much, Jessalyn, and it's great to meet you all. My name is Scarlett. I'm the policy director here at the Center for Policing Equity, which is a national nonprofit. We were founded over, I think, like 15 years ago, but have really scaled in recent years with increasing attention to this issue. We work with police departments and communities across the country who are looking to redesign their systems of public safety, particularly to reduce harms associated with racially biased policing. So a lot of what we do, our sort of bread and butter, is to take data from police departments, analyze it for evidence of racial disparities and how they make stops or use force, and then present that back to them and to the public in a web report and make recommendations of things they could do differently. My team doesn't do a ton of that department by department work, and we're instead trying to take the learnings that we've had take place across the organization, make best practice recommendations, and also to pass related laws and state bills to kind of expedite the progress we see. There's 18,000 different police departments across the country. So, at some point going jurisdiction by jurisdiction is not really the path to transformative change. So to that end, we have really done a lot of work recently on traffic reform. You might have heard, obviously instances in the news of high profile use of force that occurs at traffic stops that can be for like often really low level things that Black folks are pulled over as a pretense for uncovering crime. These are just like, you know, not effective at their intended goals of crime discovery, and also like not effective at road safety, obviously. Things like objects dangling in the rear view mirror or a single broken taillight have nothing to do with like road safety. So we're kind of bringing together maybe unlikely allies in the road safety space and in social justice to, you know, reduce these low level stops and better utilize limited police resources on things that matter to safety. So that's why a lot of these ideas do have to do with traffic safety as something that is a real big priority for us. So a lot of the ideas we come up with as potential projects are sort of like traditional, like I would say legal research. We're looking into, we want to look at states, identify states that have this preemption law that says cities can't establish traffic safety responders who aren't police. That definitely exists in California, but we don't know the other states where that exists. So that's like an example of like doing a 50-state survey to answer a question about, you know, laws that exist. There's some other ideas we have that are about like constitutional law and standards for policing and whether any states have exceeded those standards. State laws prohibiting the use of quotas by law enforcement, how that's defined. So those I would bucket as like our kind of traditional legal research projects. If there's anyone who's interested in like quantitative analysis too, I'm trying to start some more data-driven research projects, either like for one of y'all to lead or for you to partner with someone on our science team. We have a whole academic, you know, branch of the organization that does more formal academic research that's published in journals and the like. But there's basically like a few reforms that have happened in the traffic safety realm that have not been evidenced, not been studied and evaluated. For example, Virginia became the first state in 2020 to pass a law banning officers from making certain low-level stops. So we always point to that as a model and like, yay, Virginia did this, you should do it too. However, they're getting a lot of pushback. Folks are trying to repeal that law. No one has looked at their data, which does exist, to say, you know, police are saying that these stops are important for uncovering crime. Like, is that really true? Like, what percent of stops and an arrest for a gun-related offense? No one's done that study yet. So that would be an example of something like, we have the data, it's just a matter of like looking at it and kind of mapping on, you know, the code for the arrest type to like the things that we're looking to identify related to gun offenses. So that's like a kind of combo legal quantitative project that could be interesting. So I've rambled a lot. I would just end by saying like, we would love to work closely with whoever is interested in taking on some of this work and to shape it together. Some of it might be like more urgent if we can get it together internally to like support you in doing it, but a lot of it is like not as time sensitive and are just sort of like really great things for us to have in our ongoing work that we don't have internal capacity to do at the moment. So yeah, I don't know if there's anything else that'd be helpful to cover, Jessalyn.
Well, do you anticipate FOIA requests being required for any of this information?
No.
Awesome. And we will be hearing later in the semester, let me pull up my calendar from the shared drive, on, let's see, we have on Thursday, October 19th, we have additional folks from the Center for Policing Equity who will be coming to speak to us to give a better idea on how some of the past research has been used and give a presentation on centering community and public safety solutions. So I think that can also provide a further linkage to the real world implications of this research in a very meaningful way. But yeah, are there any questions about what CPE is looking for from y'all, or what from Scarlett while we have her? Awesome. Well, Scarlett, thank you so much for taking the time on a Tuesday afternoon. I appreciate you.
Of course.
And I had asked our students to identify the theme by October 20th. So
Great.
by then I will be able to give a clearer idea on who will be supporting and on what topics.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers. So as Scarlett indicated, recognizing that we have almost 18,000 different policing public safety agencies across the United States, the Excellence in Policing project at the University of South Carolina Law School has also asked us to support them in a few research needs. Unfortunately, they were unable to join us today, but here is information about EPS. And they are looking for state law surveys on state search and seizure law that are more restrictive or protective than the Fourth Amendment, minimum requirements for officer certifications, minimum academy training requirements, including the length, mode of delivery, and subject matters, in-service or continuing professional education requirements. They're also looking for summaries of existing academic research on the relationship between traffic enforcement and traffic safety, different models of civilian advisory or oversight boards, agency policies and or training, ideally from a selection of different agencies, like the largest three in every state, on the use of profanity by officers' private social media use and related disciplinary procedures, use of force review boards and processes, canine apprehension, response to being spat on by community members, no-knock and dynamic entry, including specific risk assessment metrics, eyewitness identification, promotional processes to special investigation units, part-time and job sharing options for officers, and pregnancy and nursing policies. So if you were to choose to support the EPS team, you would be compiling that information from either the jurisdiction where you are currently housed or what you see as home. I know that can be different for some folks who are studying in places where they are not from, or who have additional access to different communities. So I make that distinction purely for those students. So I would recommend, if you're going to be working in support of the EPS ask, that you select three of the issue areas that they have identified in support on those, so that you would be attempting to compile state search and seizure laws, minimum academy training requirements, or in-service requirements. If that is all publicly available and you're able to check off all of those things in one afternoon, please let me know, and we're happy for you to compile more information, or perhaps widen your search to capture that information from other areas. Again, with where you are in your law school careers, I feel confident that I'm able to trust you in your honesty about how much time all of these things are taking. And one of the other challenges that we have encountered within both the fellowship as well as in larger policing public safety type conversations is the discrepancy that exists with how accessible this information is. In some communities, it's widely available, widely and wildly. In others, it is not. And there is little standardization around how that information needs to be published or where it should be housed. So it may require a little bit more digging in one community as opposed to another. So I think it's important that we acknowledge the differences that exist in this conversation when determining how we proceed, which is also why I recommend a precursory desk review before committing to something so that you have an accurate read on what is going to be available on your subject area before proceeding. Do we have questions, concerns, thought bubbles?
Where were the excellence the South Carolina asks? Where was that listed on their website?
So it's not on the website because that is an ask just for us. So it is not something that they are looking for just anyone to respond to. So that is going to be in the shared folder. It is in the bottom of page 3 of the fellowship introduction. So let me share that here. Then I know, particularly since we have some folks from Wayne State who are here, they will not be responding to any of these asks because, similar to what I was saying at the start of the conversation, they have a very steadfast faculty advisor who has been working tirelessly in support of an ongoing relationship with the Detroit Board of Police Commissioners. And so they're going to be working in direct support of their work and further cementing a research base and partnership between their law school and the Board of Commissioners, the Police Board of Commissioners. And so I present that one so that we're all aware of the novel and exciting work that they're doing, but also if your law school has interest in exploring a partnership with a community oversight board, with the local police department, with other policing or public safety organizations currently working in this area, I actively encourage that. However, ask that I be brought into those conversations sooner rather than later so that I can provide a bit of guidance around how that might be undertaken, what we know from other communities that could be applied in your area. We also have some templates that could be used for initial outreach that might be of value to make sure that you're not replicating or duplicating the wheel. Does anyone have any initial excitement areas or things that after hearing more information about them, you think that that's definitely something you want to spend the next few months researching or in pursuit of? I'm awful on the spot as well. So take some time to sit with these ideas. Come Thursday, we will also be hearing from representatives from the International Association of Chiefs of Police. They're going to be talking to us both about who IACP are, the role that they play as a membership organization, and the research that they have undertaken, as well as the One Mind campaign and the role that that plays in encouraging law enforcement to be more aware of what mental health crisis looks like in their communities and how they can respond differently. In support of that, we did have a webinar last year about Ernie and Joe, which is a documentary that showcases the additional training that 2 police officers it's in Texas, but I'm trying to remember the exact community. The additional training that they underwent that provided them with a deeper understanding and appreciation of how the identity that as police officers they bring with them in responding to people in crisis. And so the changes that they have made to ensure that they are not further exacerbating the response from in crisis individuals has been and the impact that it had on their ability to engage with the community as well as the personal effect that it had on them as individuals, which I found it was a very meaningful and rewarding experience. And it's a good documentary. So that is available on the consortium's website, I believe. And then the documentary itself is available on HBO. So I would highly recommend that as some background watching and in anticipation for either Thursday or following that discussion with IACP. So again, I know I've mentioned this to everyone, but the One Mind campaign, implementing that or getting additional agencies to commit to taking the campaign may be of value to you as a research assignment. I am not a prescriptive human, and I think one of the lights of the fellowship has been in affording each individual with the autonomy to make the research decisions themselves, to identify what it is that gives you that light, that makes you smile on a Tuesday afternoon or a Thursday, and ensuring that it is that light that drives the work that you are doing. And so that is why I don't want to say, Natalie, you are going to be responding to CPE, and Bill, you're going to be responding to EPS. I want you to listen to what it is that brought you to this fellowship and have that as your inspiration in how you proceed. Again, it is important to ensure that that light is further showcased by the work of your law school. So make sure that you're not making this decision in a silo, but in coordination with your faculty advisor and as appropriate me. But again, I am entrusting y'all to choose from this list of research asks and assignments in a way that is meaningful to the goals of everyone involved. And I feel confident that based off of what I have heard from y'all in our early conversations, as well as in these last 2 meetings, that we have a really strong group that is well equipped to do so. So again, in regards to deadlines, October 20th is the deadline I have identified for you to have solidified your research idea. I have in our shared folder a spreadsheet where you can indicate that. That is here, fall 2023. So you will identify the research area. Sorry, let me grab this link. This is an out-of-date list, so I do have a few more last-minute additions to the fellowship students to add to this list. So if your name is not reflected here, know that I am aware of that. So you will indicate what your research area is, what your research question is to be answered. So if you need help in how to structure that, please let me know, and I'm happy to do that. And then the duration of your commitment, if you will be with me with the fellowship for 1 semester or 1 academic year. So that should all be completed by October 20th. In the meantime, there is the outstanding ask of the press release, so please continue work on that. Hopefully this additional information around the independent research side of things is helpful in drafting that. For a press release, you likely don't need to go into too much detail about what it is that you'll be doing, but talking in broad swaths about the types of work that we have undertaken in the past and what we are looking to do this semester would be of value to you. That is everything that I had planned to discuss today. Any questions, comments, issues, concerns, other feeling words that I've overlooked? Awesome. Well, I'm happy to stick around. I'm going to pause the recording now. If you have questions that you didn't want to be recorded or would feel more comfortable in asking me one-on-one, I will stick around probably through the end of the hour to make myself available. But for those that don't, feel free to enjoy this extra bit of time. Thank you for your attention and involvement.